Today's podcast, Keith and I are going to talk about a trick that is being used by consumers in the garage, and we're going to discuss why they do that. We're going to talk about how the Japanese have invented a levitating car. We're also going to get into a little bit about a little tiny vehicle that weighs maybe about 1,100 pounds. We also want to talk to you today about how nearly half of the U.S. Want to switch back to gas-powered vehicles. And we're going to talk about a vehicle that I may or may not have just purchased. All of that coming up right after this.
Jay, get a new car.
Hey, everybody, welcome into this podcast, episode 165. Good to be here. Got some great news on my front, but first and foremost, say hello to my friend, Keith. What side are you coming in on, pal?
Always on the wrong side, Jay.
Oh.
Always on the wrong side.
It's all good. Okay. For those of you watching the podcast,
you almost were just about to just point over there because you knew. Yeah.
I know, man. Actually, I should have just went like this, right? But, no, hey, man.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome in.
Yeah.
For those of you that are just joining us that have never heard one of these before, first of all, thank you. We are I like vehicle-specific, vehicle-centric over automotive because we get into like bicycles and bikes and stuff, right? So,
which I've been riding a lot of my event.
Good for you.
Adventure 2, which, by the way, guys, we are a brand partner with those guys. I love this thing. The Adventure 2 is an awesome bike. Go to our website, partscounterguru.com. Click on show specials. You'll see a link. There might just happen to be a little code there for you, but it works on everything anyway. There you go. I've been getting my exercise in, walking and also
great.
riding.
I use mine too. So we get into pop culture conversations. We're gearheads. That's where the automotive side of this comes from. It's called The Counter Show. You can find us over on YouTube if you want to see the video version, or we're on all of your favorite streaming platforms. Jay already gave you the website, so I'm not going to repeat. And too bad if you weren't paying attention. Try to catch it next time. All right.
Now, yes, one extra thing. Hey, good job, bud. Good job. One extra thing, though, for those of you who aren't watching this podcast, you're listening to this podcast, you can watch this podcast. You go to youtube.com/partscountergurus. And you will see us there. Just click on the podcast tab. So make sure that whatever you do, if you comment, that helps us out. If you share, watch, listen. If you watch these videos, that helps us out tremendously. So make sure you do all that. And subscribe while you're at it.
Yeah, baby.
All right, so the cat's out of the bag. Why do people put cats in bags, man?
I don't know.
Jay got a new car, and we're going to get into that. And soon, we've got a together thing going on where we're going to probably do some podcasting from the car. I've decided for us, Jay.
Okay,
well,
cool.
Why not? We're going to be in the car together for a long drive. There will be we already have the cameras and the mics, so we might as well, right?
Yeah, we've got a lot
Call it
coming.
The Roadshow.
Coming your way. Yeah, the Roadshow. That'll be fun, actually. We've got the Overland Expo, like you said. It's upcoming. That's going to be a blast. I can't wait. We're going to get dusty and dirty.
It's in Loveland, Colorado.
That's correct. We're also going to go to the Intrepid Camp Gear headquarters, and we're going to hope to bring you some of their product details and a up-close and personal conversation with one of the head folks over there. We're not going to give it away who it is yet, but we will let you know, and it's going to be fun.
So they're going to, and they've got some cool stuff, and we'll have some content, like Jay said, out and about and around those topics. But if you're at all into getting outdoors. You need to keep an eye on our channel, keep an eye on our socials, because we're going to be posting tons of content, but possibly even some live streams. Jay, I was at Costco yesterday, and there was this like really sweet, swanky camp cookware kit. It was like $20, and I was like, it's the Costco thing. It's like, I need this, but you really don't. It's that impulse buy.
Right.
It was so cool,
Right.
and it's Costco because so it's like if I don't buy it now and I come back in a couple weeks, it'll be gone. And I passed, but it was hard because I know we're going to be, in the middle of all this stuff soon.
Right. Yes. Which I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot. I need to make sure that I pack my backpacking camp gear, everything to bring with me, my cot and everything, man. I got to make sure I keep it with me, man. So on that note, the road trip, I get to travel back. I haven't been to Nashville in a while, so gonna go get to see the hell on wheels traffic firsthand. Gonna hang with Keith for a little bit and do some work out there in the middle of the country, and
I'm playing around with stuff over here. If I end up putting the wrong background up, for example, like our other podcast, the other one, the AI Chronicles, by the way, shameless plug. Go find that over on our website at partscounterguru.com. And if you just can't get enough of us talking about vehicles, you can go over there, and it's a different sort of podcast where we talk about technology and artificial intelligence and occasionally the end of the world. And Jay's computer taking over. He's watching YouTube clips right now. What are you doing, man?
Sorry, I was pulling up I was looking at the first story.
Right.
It just happens to be a TikTok TikTok video involved.
All right. Well,
so,
since you mentioned it, So I think I found this. It doesn't matter. I just trying to figure out how to start. More and more people, Jay, you know why. But for those of you that don't, more and more people are keeping their cars, are hanging onto their cars, and are spending money on repairs, are fixing up, if you will, their old cars as opposed to buying a new one. And the reason for that, it's nothing new. We've been around this cycle many times. Interest rates, which kill new car sales. How many times have I said on this show, as the automotive industry goes, so does the U.S. economy? It's like the first time you've heard me say that, right, Jay?
Oh, yeah. Just the first time. But you're right, that in the housing market.
So we're in the middle of some pretty high interest rates. Car sales have slowed. New vehicle sales have slowed. So as a result of that, people are fixing what they have, right? So I found an article, and, some of this, Jay and I look at it, and we're like, it's whatever. But I felt like this was a good discussion point from an education perspective on around the topic of taking your car to a mechanic. So basically, as the story goes, and I'm going to try to put it up on the screen here, Jay. Go ahead. But did you know what it's about, right? You had a chance to look at it, right?
Oh, absolutely,
I'm putting you
man.
on the spot here, but go ahead.
No, not at all. So this is an old trick, actually. I mean, it's nothing new. I go way back in the service industry, period. Like I told you, I've had various positions within the automotive industry before I got to product development. But, the tires, people just kind of take for granted when you bring something in that, it's actually going to get rotated. Now, here's the deal, and I'll tell you why. Most places are going to sell free tire rotation with the purchase of the tires.
Yeah, mine do.
And that takes time to do when you bring a vehicle in. And you want to make sure that you save the tires and get as much life out of them as you possibly can. And so sometimes you take it in for tire rotation, it may not get rotated.
Yeah.
And so there's a trick out there. So we're going to get into that. So there's an old trick, and basically this was a TikTok video a guy posted out there about a mechanic. A mechanic actually caught a customer using this old trick, which is marking the tires.
Somebody
right?
showed on TikTok how to mark your tires, and that way you can tell if they've been rotated. Essentially. Right?
But the bigger question to that, though, is, Keith, why would you want to do that?
Since you asked, Jay, by the way, just, this is why we work so well together. You just throw me softballs, and I'm in like a 10-year-old Little League home run ballpark, and I could just like crush them, and then I look, amazing. And now that I'm on a side tangent, there's this trend, speaking of TikTok, of the tiny microphones where people are doing interviews with these guys, and it makes the people look giant because they use these. Have you seen these little? Have you? Okay.
I have.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you haven't experienced like just straight up like people trying to keep a straight face when they're being interviewed, and this little like the size of a lipstick tube or smaller being shoved in their face, and they're like, "What?" Okay. So the mechanic saw this, and he said, "Hey man, if you don't trust your mechanic, don't bring your car to him." And while I agree with that, there's a couple points that we have to get to before we can make that decision. First of all, like I have a spare tire hanging, a full-size spare, as they say. That means it is exactly like the other 4 tires that I have on my car, and it hangs on the back door of my Toyota FJ. All right, I want that rotated in a 5-way. It's called a 5-way rotation, and I have Jay said free, bought tires, had tire company do said free rotation every, 7,000-8,000 miles, whatever it is. And I've marked that tire. And I can't tell you the number of times that I've gone in and I've marked the tire and I've told the guy at the counter, "Hey, I got 5 tires. I need a 5-way rotation." And he looks at me and he goes, "No problem. Gotcha." Come back. They didn't move the one off the back door.
Yeah.
No problem. Got me?
Yeah.
No problem. Got me. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to get to a point where you know whether you can trust the mechanic or not if this is your first visit, but also there's this factor of there's not a lot of great shops out there that are just going to have the attention to detail like they used to.
Truth. Absolute
and
truth.
So sometimes you have to settle for the guys that are just happen to be around.
That's right.
Now,
I mean, I've experienced with tires, by the way. For people out there that don't know this, there are what is known as directional tires.
Yeah. And you used to be a big
They still have to be rotated. But you want to see a confused look on some people's face trying to figure out.
Because you're taking the like driver's side front, for example, and if you guys can visualize this, you're literally flipping it around backwards and putting it on the passenger rear, which then changes the direction that tire spins.
Correct.
Fun times.
You got to be careful with it. I've seen it where it's done incorrectly, and people just get on about their day, and next thing you know, the tire's all messed up. But look, this is not anything new. I've done this. I've seen this when I was back in the day when I was actually installing tires. I've seen people do it, but
it doesn't just stop with tires. Like I've seen recent articles and videos and TikToks on, some Corvette guy marking his like rock shield or whatever underneath, and the GM mechanic getting in there and writing him a little. Oh, I know what it was. He put like painter's tape on it or something, so they had to break the seal.
Yeah.
And the guy wrote on the painter's tape, he's like, "Bro, you can trust us," or whatever. Well, yes. Now that you responded to me on said painter's tape, I do trust you. But we have to get to that point. And for you guys that are like, "Nah, you're being too over the top about this," just let me level with you guys, everybody. For those of you that haven't lived in the auto repair industry in a while, there is a changing business model in that industry, and it is all about
absolutely
the average repair order. Okay?
Right.
And that means when Jay brings his vehicle in for an oil change that was the $49.95 special, they're very interested in getting you to a higher number. It depends on the shop,
Absolutely.
whatever that number is, 500, 750, whatever. And the mechanics, they're referred to as technicians or techs nowadays, are pressured by their employers to find work, make sure you document that work, and then quickly get that car in and out so you can be on to the next job. And when you've constantly got those metrics standing over your head as a tech, you're under pressure, and sometimes things get missed.
Absolutely. Absolutely it does. I will give you a fine example. Not this last time that I was in with my Cooper. The time before I had to have a battery installed, right? That is the specific reason why I took it there. But I also needed an oil change, so I waited for the oil change time. So I bring it in, oil change, and guy comes up to me and he says, all right, so we got the oil change, you ready to go? I said, well, what about the battery? Oh, you wanted the battery changed? I said, that's what we talked about when I called you and set the appointment up. Well, I don't have it in my notes. And, you know, what was funny
wait, hold up.
Is that
who didn't put it in their notes? Right?
The service writer.
Like, that's somehow your fault? Oh, I don't have it in my notes.
Right,
like,
exactly.
yeah, don't come back to me with that. Right?
Yeah. So, anyway, I got it changed. But this last time, you're absolutely correct. So, the last time I was in with
Jay,
the
you should have
Cooper-
looked at him and went, are you calling me a liar?
Right. But they changed. I just took it in for the oil change. And, of course, they always check your tires. And, of course, they let me know, hey, you need a new set of tires. But while we were looking, you need rear brakes. And, by the way, the oil change was $200 plus
on a Cooper. I
can
can see that, yeah.
Yeah, just insane. So this happens a lot on your higher-end vehicles. They can find something with those. And most people are not apprehensive about letting them do it because it's a high-end vehicle, and you don't want just anyone to work on those things, right? So
now, I'm on a it's the new me, Jay. I've decided, new resolution in the middle of the year or whatever. And I've always kind of been this way, but I'm making a concerted effort to actually follow through with. Not going to come on any show that I'm somewhat responsible for and say bad things or negative comments and not offer a positive solution. It's just the me that I've chosen to be. Okay?
Well, let's hear it.
So what do you guys do if you have a situation like this and you're like, well, crap, the gurus are telling me I can't trust any mechanics. Not true, didn't say that. I'm sure that'll end up in the comments. We welcome your comments, by the way. But you do need to get to a point where you can trust your mechanic. So how are you going to know how to trust your mechanic? Okay, well, number one, unless you're going in for routine maintenance like an oil change or something that's very basic like an air filter change or something like that. And even then, I would contend that you can just pop open the cover and look at it. But if there's a problem with your car, if it's making a noise, if the check engine light is on, if there's a smell, go get yourself the top scan code reader. It's like under $70 for the regular version, or you can get the pro version for under $100. We reviewed it. We were blown away by it. There's a link to it in our show specials. Run the code scanner on your own vehicle. Save the information. It's stupid easy. It'll take you 10 minutes. You'll have all the documentation you need. Take your car in. Let the mechanic do their thing. Get said car back. Run the code scan again.
Right. It's not a half-ass tool. When you have to register the specific vehicle and it downloads only the library for that vehicle, and it's awesome. It's a great tool. Yeah, watch that video over there, and there's some discounts out there for you too. I love it. You did a great job. We did a good job, period, on that video, man. It was great. You did a hell of a job with the presenting of the actual number of things that it can do.
Thank you. Step 1, have a plan. Step 2, throw a plan out window. Step 3, improvise. Well, it was...
That's it, man.
To be fair, to you, Jay. Jay and I worked on this together, and we divvied up the parts, and we talked through the concept of the video, but neither one of us had used the product yet. And that's the unknown, right? There's always that unknown element. And both of us started using this, and I just happened to have some things like that I could use it for that were wrong. And I was like, holy cow, this is going to be a great, and we just rolled with it, right? And we both do that. If you see that something has there's an interest there for you guys, we're going to just let the camera roll and try to capture it. So that's what we did.
Right.
Right. Anyway, yes. So you guys that are keeping your cars longer and getting them fixed, by all means, please keep that up. It's great for the industry. You got to feed your techs, but it's also okay to come around back and check their work.
That's it. Absolutely. And that's okay too.
It's called an audit.
There you go.
In the adult world, in the
it.
business world, it's called an audit.
Exactly. And you know what? You just said something too. It's like, this is something that I've always said to people. When you find the right technician, it's like trying to find the right primary care physician, your doctor, right? Once you find the right one, stick with them. Be loyal to them, man. And it's tough when you got to break that relationship. Say somebody's retiring or something, but they are just as important as your doctor. So your car's health and your health are very important. So there you go. Treat them like they're your doctor. Take care of them. Spread the word. Give them business. Send people to them. That's how it works. All right. So, Keith,
I'm here.
Levitation.
Yeah, this is the magic show part of the program.
Right, man. When I saw this article, I thought that's pretty cool.
So,
I mean, because it can work and as a means of propulsion, and it is working.
Well, as we know in
isn't
the
there?
Documentary Back to the Future 2, they had the hoverboards. So the technology's been around since whenever that movie came out, Jay. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And we don't know much about this. It's very basic in terms of kind of the content and the documentation that we read through. But I just thought it was interesting as a conversation point. Okay.
It is.
How
it
far
is because
away?
it's another alternative, right?
Yeah. So we don't know a whole lot, but what we do know is it's not magic. It's really more magnetism or demagnetism or the use of magnetic fields, if you will.
Correct.
And is it going to do away with like the current powertrain? Probably not, because it's not going to make all the electronics in your car work. It's not going to make your dome light come on. It's not going to, make your car stereo infotainment system work. But could it help you get from point A to point B? Sure.
Well, if they put induction, induction charging,
is it likely to happen in the next 10 years? Probably not.
No.
This looks like something that came out of Japan, which I personally am a fan of Japanese innovation. I have been for a long time.
So basically, in Japan, I guess apparently it was a group of Japanese researchers attached to the quantum machine unit of the Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology, or as they like to call it, the OIST.
Because we got to have our acronyms, right?
Absolutely. They report having created a track that provides magnetic levitation, which does not need external maintenance power. Now, it's a small world after all. Didn't Walt Disney do the same thing?
So I was going to say, this is something that's been played with for a long time. We have trains that use something similar to this on a closed loop system on a fixed rail. The problem is the infrastructure build out. It's going to be done if at all, in very small portions, at first. And that's why they do it. They started with rails. It was a fixed point. Go from New York to Orlando and go to Disney World or whatever, right? So again, they got to electrify the road system, the rail system, whatever they're going to use to make this happen. So it's not going to be like I can just drive my floating hover car off road and it'll work. It's not that. It's a
Right.
and honestly, at this point, why does it need to be an individual car? It's probably going to be an automated system where you get in this vehicle and it just rolls into a motorway and gets on, and literally just you don't drive. I would think very futuristic, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. How realistic is this to actually come into fruition for us in our generation? I think not very realistic. Like you just said, there's way too much involved in trying to get it. And speaking of what's involved, and what they're saying, what it consists of, and Keith, we can both share this. It's on a surface. Magnetic levitation causes objects, cars in this particular case, to rise a few centimeters above the track. Eliminates friction, so the car is able to move without the need for batteries, motors, or any form of mechanical electrical thrust. Now, what does it need? A magnetic field?
Yeah, which is created by electricity. It's powered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this in various forms for a while now, like you said, right?
I want to say, you were talking about, and I was joking about Disney, but I swear I think there was something like this at Disney World, when I was a kid. But there are trains out there, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Aren't there that utilize the same technology? Yep. I mean, so this is nothing new, but I guess that the technology is nothing new, but how you use that technology is where this is a little different. For sure.
This is basically oh boy, here comes the haters. I'm gonna just, this is the Apple way to invent things. You take something that's already in existence, and to their credit, to Apple's credit, you make it better. You make it relevant to a different demographic. But I guess the part that I'm making fun of is when you come out and proclaim that you invented this, or that this is your, you put your marketing spin on it. So, yeah, but we'll see. I think there will be changes implemented that utilize this in the next decade. I just don't think it will be fully, a hover car that we can drive anywhere in the city in 10 years. I don't think that's the thing.
It's true. And
plus, we're all going to these micro cars now anyway that are, and especially in Europe.
Right. Speaking of micro cars.
So,
This one rhymes with Miss Turner.
So you actually, this is what you bought, right? This is your new car? You just got one of these?
Yeah. The Microlino.
So
nice.
let me bring this up on screen so you guys can see what we're talking about here. But this would be a great time for me to mention, by the way, that if you are listening to this podcast, you can see us and anything that we share that's relevant to the show over on the video podcast side at youtube.com/Parts Counter Gurus. And conversely, because I'm just full of big words today, if you would rather listen while you're driving or working out or whatever it is, you can find us on your favorite podcast platform. The easiest way, because there's a lot of ways to do it, but the easiest way is just to go to our website at partscounterguru.com, click on the podcast links tab, and then just find your favorite one. Okay, so this is like you said, the Microlino. I had that for dinner last night, I think. It's an Italian...
yes, man. Was it a TV dinner? Yeah. So it's a Swiss company, Micro. They just launched this thing. It's the Microlino. It's a small electric vehicle with a curb weight of about 1,093 pounds. And the company launched the vehicle in June 1 with a starting price of approximately $25,900 US. This is crazy, dude. So it's categorized as a four-wheeled motorcycle. It measures about 8.2 feet long, 5 feet wide, and 5 feet tall. It also boasts an estimated range of nearly 142 miles. That's actually not bad.
No, so here's the thing, and I want to be real clear on this. This is not gonna go over well in the United States. That's not who it's intended for.
Oh, it wouldn't happen. Let's face it, the smart car, remember that one?
Yeah, and that was gas,
It
right?
didn't-
But this is
it didn't do well.
very large urban areas. You know, we all just watched the Olympics, Paris, right? Like places where you don't necessarily need. You just need to be out of the weather and get from point A to point B in the city. You're not hauling stuff. You got IKEA home delivery for that or whatever. Yeah, you can take some groceries or, you know, a 6-pack home with you or whatever. But it's really more about just not showing up soaking wet or freezing to death to work or wherever it is you need to go. It's literally just human transportation in the cheapest, smallest way possible.
Yeah. And by the way, I see more and more people really losing interest in the vehicle itself. They just want something that is going to add to their bottom line, improve their life, make their life easier. And so I think this is a practical type vehicle for someone, with that mindset that lives in a city and just needs some form of transportation to get them back and forth. Yes, I know we have bicycles with panniers and baskets and stuff like cargo baskets and stuff. You can do that, which is a lot more fun. But you can't,
maybe take your dog to the vet that way, or whatever, right?
Exactly. So comes in handy for carrying items that otherwise you couldn't carry on a bike. So, and the price point's very good.
And I would
attractive.
consider loading this in the back of a toy hauler RV as a get around if it were just two of us, because it would fit, and the weight it's under the weight limit. Usually you got about 2,500 pounds you can put in your garage in those toy haulers.
So let's get down to this. It says the size can accommodate a driver, a passenger, and features over 8 cubic feet of space for various cargo, which is not bad. Shopping bags, suitcases, beer crates. I like the fact that they bring up beer crates. Additionally, its compact size only requires a third of parking space compared to a traditional vehicle, which, like I said, when Keith and I, you can go back many episodes where we talked about why was the Ford Maverick, the compact pickup trucks segment, becoming more and more attractive. And it is for people that live in cities that don't need a huge, let's face it, these trucks now, like once you get beyond an F-150 or a 2500 series on the GM side, these things are behemoths, man. They're huge. So as someone who needs a truck, that's why they, that is exactly why the compact truck segment picked back up and did so well.
Yeah, you got to haul, I don't know, your ladder, or, you're a painter, or you want to go camping and you want to haul your camping gear, or, your baseball gear or whatever, but you don't need, a vehicle that you're towing stuff with, or a full-size truck that you need to pull an Airstream with or something. Yeah, it's literally just throw 5 large boxes in the back. Jay, here's what it is, because I like to use life comparisons, real world analogies, if you will. You're upgrading from a 6-pack to a keg.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly, man. Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Now, if you do that weekly, we might have the talk, but
Truth. So one thing I wanted to point out, how could they get this thing so light, considering the fact that it has to have a battery pack? Well,
hamsters.
Hamsters, man. That's right. Yes, that's Kia.
This engine
Kia
powered by
has
hamsters,
man. Right, but no, the range gives it away. There's not that big of a battery pack, but also
how many clowns could you fit? All right, sorry. Anyway,
right? Yeah, we got to try that, dude. Yes. It has an aluminum outer skin and a steel body, and so it's super light. That's how they were able to do it. Now, you can book a test drive or place an order if you are in Sweden. Right. I think. I don't think they're going to deliver anywhere outside of that yet. But you can go to Microlino, microlino.se, and deliveries and test drives are currently restricted
And I
to
think
the
there's
Stockholm area right now, but they do
there's
plan
some
to
there's some reasons for that beyond just the size of the company. It's not going to meet certain countries' vehicle safety regulations, just based on what I'm seeing. So, like for example, there's no traditional headlights on this thing. And here in the United States, like those have to be in a specific location, and they're basically where the side mirrors would be, which I don't think would fly in the U.S.
Right.
And some other stuff like that. But I mean, I'm all about the innovation, and let's see where this goes. And if it's not for you, everybody, that's totally fine. It doesn't mean we shouldn't try new things, and
And I will say this. That's a good point you make. And when we have the discussion about the new car that I purchased, we're going to get into some of this, and we're going to slide into this right now with the fact that EVs sales are just
let's thicken the suspense just a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should make this a. You know what? There's a chance Jay got an EV. Did you consider any EVs? Okay. No. Well, never mind. You didn't buy an EV. Right?
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, right.
Okay.
I didn't.
Well, hold up.
And
now, wait a second, because I was going to do a little cliffhanger here. I was going to be like, is it an EV? But why didn't you consider any EVs?
For the very reason that nearly half of the American EV owners want to switch back to gas.
What would that reason be, Jay?
The bottom line is the poll of nearly 37,000 consumers worldwide, which, by the way, Australia was the only one with a greater percentage of 49% of EV owners than the U.S., who said that they were ready to return to a internal combustion engine. The bottom line is
but I have a feeling they didn't say it like that. They were probably like, oi, right, I want my gasser.
Oi, mate, I can't drive it. You got to get the dicky on that. Hey, mate.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, my God.
Look at
if
that.
If we had any listeners from down under, they're gone now. All right.
Or come on the show and help us with the accent there, man. But the biggest reason EV owners decided to go back to gas-powered vehicles was the lack of available charging infrastructure. The second highest reason was the total cost of owning an EV was too high. And nearly 1 in 3 said their driving patterns on long-distance trips were affected too much due to having an EV. And I get that. So that's not something that surprises me, man.
Yeah, so
because we have been hammering at home that this country has a long way to go before we can adopt an all EV.
Yeah, now you always preach, do your homework, and we've always said the future is eclectic, right?
Very
and
eclectic,
so
yes.
I feel like, people have asked me, like, would I consider an EV? Of course I would. It just depends on for what, As my only vehicle? No, because I take longer trips.
A big role.
I haul stuff. Neither one of those are good boxes to check for an EV. But
that's right.
If I were somebody that commuted and I did 20, 30, 40 miles a day, especially in a city, especially in a lot of traffic, 100% I would go for an EV. I would consider buying an EV just for that purpose, for the job I have, if I had that kind of a job. Or, I take the kids to school and pick them up and do grocery runs, and I'm, one of those, like, we got, music lessons and soccer lessons and baseball lessons and tennis lessons. And yeah, EVs are perfect for that stuff, right? Because you're just going around town.
Absolutely.
But they are not great if you are trying to take 2 family trips a year, one over Thanksgiving or Christmas, and the other one is a summer camping trip, and that's the only vehicle you've got. You have to do the math on this and figure it out. I mean, I do feel like we start talking about the cost of ownership of EVs, we also need to factor in how long are you going to keep these things? Because if you're going to buy it new and not keep it more than most people do, which is 3, 4, 5 years, you're probably going to be very low on the cost of ownership.
Absolutely. One thing too, and speaking to, it depends on what your habits are, right? Or, the purpose to purchase the vehicle. For what purpose are you going to be using this thing? And you look at, and we'll get into this on my new car. I'm going to be driving quite a bit. I'm going to be putting a lot of miles and cross country. And let's face it, you all have traveled a lot. You use your navigation systems, and you realize, there's trouble up ahead on the road, but there happens to be this 100-mile stretch of side road that connects a little further south than you want it to be, but you won't be sitting in traffic. But guess what? There's no charging stations on that road, so you're kind of stuck to where you have to go the route of where the chargers are at. And so that's a big reason. It's an inconvenience for people, but in cities, like Keith just said, it makes great sense to own an EV because it's practical. You can be assured that you're going to be able to get that battery charged. And yeah, it's but I tell you what, if I were to have purchased an EV, if I go on a long trip somewhere, I would rent a car.
Yeah,
I'd rent a gas-powered car. That could solve that. So I'm not at all saying don't buy an EV, but for me, my lifestyle, what I'm going to be challenged with, in the very near future, I need to get from point A to point B by means of fossil fuels. So
I think that might be another clue towards the end of program reveal here of Jay's new vehicle. Jay, I've got the Ford recall info pulled up. Let me ask you this: so we from time to time will cover recall informations on the show, just because we feel like we're providing a service, and we like to talk about what went wrong and how the company that issued the recall is handling it and all that. This one in particular is with Ford's F-Series pickup trucks. And it's 5,500 550,000 pickup trucks.
That's a lot of trucks, dude.
And it's from the 2014 model year. I don't know if it's any other model years, but I think it's 2014 for sure. So, Jay, did you buy a 2014 Ford F-Series truck? If you did, I got some bad news for you, buddy.
No, I didn't. Thank goodness, based on this bad news that you're about to deliver to everyone out there in the world.
Let me get the screen share going here. But essentially how this works, or what the reason for the recall is, and this is funny for me to say, but it's not funny if it actually happens to you and you're like going 30, 40, 50 miles an hour and not like trying to be a 16-year-old about it. The trucks can abruptly downshift into first gear.
That is not good.
Now, Jay, did you?
I mean, it could literally throw you into the windshield, man, if you're not buckled in good enough. This is just the F-150, the half-ton, right? Certain F-150s, yes. From 2014 model year, F-Series, and that's it. It's just that F-Series. It's 550,000 pickup trucks in the U.S. Like you said, transmission can unexpectedly downshift to first gear no matter how fast the trucks are going, which is extremely dangerous. I mean, can you imagine at a speed of 80 miles an hour and all of a sudden it downshifts? To me, I mean, that would happen, but how much of that transmission and the drive line is going to be
the
left
engine,
in one piece?
because you redline it immediately.
Absolutely, man.
Now, I will say we've offered a lot of praise in Ford's direction in previous episodes and over the years of how they issue recalls. We are not fans of punishing automotive companies just because they issue a recall. That's not a bad thing, everybody. Taking responsibility and trying to make it right is the number one thing, right? The problem that I have with this story, and this came from the AP News feed. Number one, these are 2014 model year trucks. Okay.
Right.
So you're telling me Ford didn't know about that? Nah, they knew about it.
They knew about it.
This recall happened as a result of
other vehicles
investigations.
Correct.
From the federal auto safety regulations groups and people filing complaints, which prompted those investigations. So kind of once Ford got caught, they said, all right, we'll go ahead and issue the recall. At least that's how it looks here. Right.
Well, let's get down to the nuts and bolts of that. So NHTSA said it started investigating them in March, right? And here's why. The agency wanted to look into whether those trucks should have been included in previous recalls, like you just said. And basically, Ford started recalling trucks and other vehicles from 2011, 2012 model years, I think they said, and this was in 2016. And then added 2 recalls in 2019 covering the pickups from the 2011 to 2013 models. And they recalled over 1.5 million vehicles. They missed it. They missed the opportunity to... And what it is that's a large amount of vehicles, and you kind of wonder what they're thinking by not realizing that this is an across-the-board thing. I will say this, that if you look at the majority of the recalls that we have been providing and talking about on this podcast to people, consumers out there that drive some of these that we've reported, the fixes typically are software updates. And that's how they're going to resolve this. So what does that tell you? And this is, Keith and I have been saying this, is that we are living in a time in the automotive industry where just as your smartphone gets pushed updates to fix bugs, fixes, whatever, to improve how they perform and all that stuff, more and more your average everyday vehicle is doing the same thing.
And this isn't fair to Ford. I'm going to oversimplify this a little bit, but essentially there's a communication link that gets broken, and when that happens in these particular trucks, it just immediately downshifts to first gear. And
that's right.
A better solution for that, perhaps, would be to trigger an alert on the dash and maybe something that tells the driver to pull over and shut it down, or just throw the code or whatever, but don't react with an immediate shift of the transmission.
Right.
So that's what they're going to fix in the software, I think.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely correct. And, these are, gosh, it took them, what was it, it was 3 years into production. It's because 2011, they said they went back as far as 2011. So they were 3 years into production before they started realizing they had some issues.
Which is not uncommon for Ford. I've seen that in Fords that I've owned,
Well, let's face it, electronics too. The way the software is developed has a lot to do with it. Did somebody miss something in the writing of the software? Potentially, but in real world, sometimes you don't have time to get out and quality control.
It's the what could go wrong scenarios that you have to play through. Meaning, if we write code and it has the transmission downshift, it would do this, but maybe nobody thought of what could go wrong in this particular scenario in terms of, well, if there's a communication loss and it downshifts, if somebody's driving that, there's so many scenarios to think through. This may not have come up.
Yeah, and it's awful interesting to me too, and I know that this is a completely different situation, but didn't One Wheel have issues where people were kicking off, falling off, but there was a user,
little bit different. So that is more of a putting warning labels on cigarettes type of thing. Like, if you don't know at this point that smoking is bad for you, that's on you, bro. Like, if you choose to do it, I'm not going to judge. But
that's right.
Don't go blame the cigarette manufacturers if your health gets negatively impacted. And in the case of One Wheel, people were riding these things with extremely low batteries, and they were riding them at very high speeds with extremely low batteries. Now, understand, and I own one. In fact, technically I own two because, well, Sideshot's got one. And he's had his... he has done this where he has not checked. He's ignored the low battery warning. What the thing does is it slows you down. There are battery lights literally on the top of the thing. If you are looking at your One Wheel while you are riding it at all, you absolutely cannot miss them. It shows you the charge level, and they're in your face.
Okay.
And
yep.
it beeps at you. Okay. And it makes you slow down, which is what has happened to Sideshot. He's like, hey, Dad, I can't climb this hill. And I'm like, why? And he's like, I don't know. It's just slowing down. And I'm like, well, check the the battery's dead, right? You were about to say.
Well, I was going to say, and to that point, that's, what you were saying, could there not be written in some sort of warning indicator?
So
that
what they did,
this
is exactly what happened, is they forced a mandatory firmware update, meaning like the minute that you connected your smartphone to your One Wheel, the next time you didn't have a choice, it pushed the update. You now get what they call haptic feedback, which is, we have now reached the coffee is hot level warnings on the side of the cup. It vibrates. So if you push it past limits, it will vibrate to the point where you're like, whoa, something must actually be not right here. Maybe I shouldn't keep riding it. And it plays a pretty annoying, like, think backup vehicle beep, like, at you, like, time to stop and get off, dummy. And again, this is all, it's targeted at the people that wouldn't listen to the first 5 levels of various warnings that they got. The Ford thing, I think, is a little bit different in the sense that there aren't really any warnings, so to speak.
But that type of situation was resolved. They had warnings, and people just not, paying attention to it, and they've had to improve on that to be a little bit more, I guess, in your face.
Well, and that's a separate discussion, and maybe that's a full-on podcast topic, which is how far do you take the responsibility part of the manufacturer? Certain people, a certain percentage of people, are going to do dumb things. No matter how many different ways you tell somebody coffee is hot, there are still people that are going to try to burn themselves and think that doesn't apply to them,
Right. And I mean, look, hey, we have check engine lights on every vehicle out there since 1991 with OBD. And they still drive them when the check engine light comes on. They don't even pay any attention to it. But I tell you what, if your check engine light came on, Keith, what would you use?
I'd use my TopScan Pro because I've used everything and it's the best out there.
Yeah. And it can definitely save your butt.
And by the way, if you are just tuning in, you can get one of those. Go hit the link on our website, partscounterguru.com. It is a great tool. It's under the show specials tab. It's called a TopScan, Top-Don, TopScan, or TopScan Pro. But I am not full on, Jay, let's just remove all the warning labels and let the problem sort itself out. I'm sort of just a little bit to the other side of that, where I'm like, just have the serious ones on there. Like, you could lose a finger. You could lose an eye. You could, burn yourself. But I feel like we've gotten crazy stupid with our warning. I don't need all that. It's a little over the top for me.
We have, and to that point, I rented a Nissan Rogue. And see, so I've been traveling a lot, and I've kind of been test driving vehicles knowing that I'm going to make a purchase. So I rented a Nissan Rogue because it had a large cargo area. It was small enough for me. It was good on gas, had a good capacity for fuel. And it had all the bells and whistles on it, with the Apple CarPlay and lane assist and all that sort of stuff, right? But there was a couple of things that really annoyed me about the vehicle. And this is where, Keith just said, it's a little overboard. But you have all of these warning sensors that come on, and I get it, but, at some point, as a human being, you've got to take some personal responsibility, man. So the fact that I've got and I understand why they did it. It's important because you have people out there that are so busy they cannot remember to grab their kid out of the back seat when they go into work. So now I, as someone who is responsible, I can't imagine having that happen to me, and I do not even want to get involved in the conversation about how those scenarios happen because people do get busy and sidetracked. And I don't know how I could miss my kid, but some people do, and apparently we need to have every vehicle out there now with the, hey, check the back end of your car when you get out kind of a thing. And that was really annoying to me. The other thing that was really annoying to me was the start-stop technology, that it always defaulted to on.
Yeah.
I had to, every single time I started the vehicle or got in it to drive it, I had to disable it.
Yeah, now on the Fords, you can turn that off. It's usually a button.
Right.
Sometimes it's software. It depends on the specific Ford.
Right. Well, this Nissan Rogue, you cannot turn it off. You can disable it once you're in it, but then it
when you
defaults back
start
to,
the car again,
Right. And why that is so annoying to me is that, first and foremost, I'm not sure that anybody can argue with me that that's good.
Well, Jay, it's a
engine.
Nissan. You're not supposed to keep them over 3 years.
Is that what it is? Yeah. Yeah. So overall with that vehicle, I like the size of that vehicle. And then, of course, I had driven a Nissan Murano before that. And now the Murano, on the other hand, that's a really, really nice ride. But gosh, the price on those things to get what I was driving, you're up around $55,000. The Rogue itself is around, the one that I drove was around 45, 46. And then the time before that, I drove a Toyota Tacoma. And since I drove that one, the new body style is now out. And, I like the Tacoma. And I thought about a truck, four-wheel drive vehicle. That was what the direction I was going to go. But then you start pricing those things now, and
you better love Toyota.
Exactly. And then you start researching all the technology that's on these things. It's like, do I really need that? Come on. There's just way too much stuff that can go wrong. So when I started researching, I wanted the segment that the Rogue is in.
Okay. Well, there's a clue.
That segment. And the reason why that is because I'm going to be traveling a lot, and I'm going to need to have a lot of cargo space.
Okay, there's also a clue. Okay.
Yep. I was covered cargo space, that is.
Okay, so not a truck.
And
your phone's ringing, Jay.
It is. I'll have to call
100
back.
And we made it to 100 through 164 episodes before one of us forgot to mute their phone and got a call in the middle of the show.
Yep. That's just kind of the way it works.
I feel like there
guys.
went my no-hitter, man.
Well, I rushed to the plate for this one anyway.
All right,
as well.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
No, it's fine. But so anyway, doing my research, that's what I was looking for. And so, when you're buying a vehicle, I have found, when you're looking for a new vehicle, I have found that in a lot of cases, you don't have any choice. If this is what you want to buy, it kind of comes with this. And
I see what you
can't pick and choose.
Yeah.
Right. And so that pushed me away from specific manufacturers because there was no version of that didn't have that.
We're gonna slowly ease into the, this is the Barry White segment of, tease.
Yeah.
Did you consider, when you make that statement, did you consider any American manufacturers?
I did.
Okay. And what other, did you look at European? By European, I mean like Volkswagen, maybe some of the Chrysler Fiat side of things. Anything European?
No. You know my story. You know my story on Chrysler.
I know,
Fiat.
but just anything European, anything.
But
okay.
yes,
okay,
I did.
Okay.
I considered it.
And
okay.
I'm guessing because they're such a big, they are so dominant in this segment of vehicle type that you were looking at, the Asian market, which includes Toyota, which includes Nissan, which includes Honda, which
Nissan.
includes, who am I forgetting? Kia.
Kia,
Hyundai.
Yeah, and I own a Hyundai.
Yeah, so
right?
you looked at the
segment.
Asian segment, okay?
Yeah.
But as we established previously in the program, not an EV in any of that segment.
Not an EV
Okay.
in any of those segments. Yeah, just not practical for what
Okay.
I need to be doing, right? So there was only one manufacturer out there in that segment that could offer me what I needed.
Okay, now
And nothing and
before you reveal it, I want Jay's, because I know you and I know that such a thing existed. Top 4 or top 5 things on that list. So meaning like, you've laid some of this out already. Cargo space, covered cargo space. But then from there, was it like engine reliability? Like what were the top 4 or 5 things on your list when you went in and you said, I got to have these. These aren't negotiable. What were they?
Right. Like you've already mentioned too, cargo space, the engine size, the displacement,
Yeah.
capacity.
You just
of
want me to
fuel,
go ahead and list the other 3?
capacity of fuel.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, man.
Since yeah.
But it had to be all. It had to be all-wheel drive.
Okay. All right.
Because if you're traveling to certain areas of the country, you just don't know what you might run into.
Fair.
So all-wheel
All right.
drive was pretty important.
All right.
It had to be automatic, and it had to have Apple CarPlay in it.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Those were my biggest things.
So, which model
Everything
Subaru
else-
did you end up with?
You know what? Honestly, Subaru never came to my mind.
Interesting. Even though you
I'm
live
just-
in
yeah.
the P&W, and that is a huge.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why.
Oh, please do. I'm all ears.
Okay. New vehicles, the cost of new vehicles have gone way out of control, too expensive.
Okay.
And people are buying them, but they're being forced to buy these vehicles because that's how they come. So there's a lot of bells and whistles on newer vehicles. I'm going to give you my refrigerator analogy. If you have more than just a standard ice maker on a refrigerator, that's more crap that can go wrong with it. The more electronics, the more chances you're going to have a problem.
I know, Jay, but I need that margarita maker. It helps me get through the day.
Hey, to each his own. I get it. But, for me, it's not. When you're choosing a vehicle, it definitely is probably one of the most personal things.
Yeah.
If you're truly buying it for your needs, it becomes one of the most personal purchases that you can have in modern times, right? And it is not a cheap purchase. So you struggle with, okay, financing. Do I lease it? What's the warranty? You got to look for those things, right? And there was one thing that I didn't point out is that, colors are important to me. The profile of the vehicle is important to me. The height of the vehicle, the size of the tires, the type of rims, from a cosmetic standpoint, also a performance standpoint. I got everything I needed in this little SUV. Now, I did my research, and out of 15 in this particular segment of SUVs, I'll go ahead and throw that out there. It was sitting at about number 9. Okay. But the top one in this segment was only 0.5 a point out of those. So it was very, very little down the chart of of difference in how.
How long
really
did it
ranked,
take
right?
you to narrow this down? 2 weeks, a week? What are we talking?
I spent about
Okay.
a month. Yeah, I really, and again, I was looking way back.
Sure.
I've had it in my mind. I'm going to get rid of the Mini Cooper because it's
Right.
just not a practical vehicle for me anymore. And so that's why when I rented, I wanted to rent something that I could test drive. And I would highly encourage any of our listeners out there, if you want to really find out about a vehicle that you're interested in purchasing, go rent
Yep.
it. Go rent the thing and go rent it for a week. That'll be the best $250, $300 you've ever
Just
spent.
because you can't find like Hertz or Avis or National or whoever, if you can't find the particular vehicle, like if you want to test drive a Toyota Camry and they don't have any, remember that there are apps out there like Turo where you can specifically go put in a vehicle year, make, and model, or range of years if you want, and get that exact vehicle and rent it
Right.
from an individual. It's like Airbnb for cars. I've done it. We've shot videos on it. I did a Jaguar F-Type review. That's how we found it. We used Turo. Turo is not sponsoring us. They should be,
Right.
Turo. But ask us a question, partscounterguru.com. Click on the link in the middle at the top of the website. Anyway, I digress. Just remember, you have options outside of your traditional car rental companies. Okay, so Jay. So
Absolutely. Okay.
I've got a picture of it up here. This is from the manufacturer's website. It's not the stuff that you've sent me. Okay.
Right.
Do you want to reveal it and then I pull the picture up? How do you want to do
Nope.
this?
Pull the picture up. Pull the picture up.
All right. So Jay, it's a 20. What model year? 2020. 2025. What are we looking at?
That is a Honda HR-V Sport.
Did I get the color right?
And
Is that the right color? Okay.
You got it right. Yep. That's called Urban
Cowboy.
Gray. And, yeah. So if you look at this vehicle, right, it's not busy. I love the blackout wheels and how well it works with the body and the color itself. The Sport model it doesn't have leather. It doesn't have power seats. I'm not interested in any of that. It does have heated seats, which I am interested in. It has push button start. It has remote start. It has cruise control. It has Apple CarPlay. It does not have satellite radio.
Yeah,
who needs satellite radio when you just don't? If you have Apple CarPlay,
Right.
you don't need satellite radio.
You're not alone, Jay.
No, and so that's what I'm saying. Most people, and I mean literally the screen in the middle, it has a radio, it has Bluetooth, it has Apple CarPlay or Android, and that's it. It doesn't even have navigation. Why do you need navigation when you have a phone?
Fair. Yeah. Nobody uses the built-in nav anyway on these things.
Nope.
Now, does it have
But what
the
I liked
stitching
about it,
like that?
Yep, all of the Sport models have the stitching, and they have the cloth seats, and they are the seats are mechanical, which is completely fine. It has a lumbar, it has a pump up, pump down, that sort of stuff. Now the steering wheel is leather wrapped. All of the padding on the doors, in the center console, everything is all leather wrapped. It is very well done. It's a simple interior. It's not too busy. It has great field of view. It has the backup camera. It has the lane change assist. It has all of the indicators, your blindside indicators. You can change the camera mode on it. But most importantly, look at the back end.
But
look at how roomy
But
that
can I
is.
see what's in my refrigerator?
Right. Yeah. But and so it comes with a 2.0 liter.
Is this the interior color,
this
or
engine.
did you get a?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All of them.
Okay.
Nope. All of them are the same.
So 2 liter 4-cylinder.
2 liter 4-cylinder
Okay.
dual overhead cam.
Okay.
Yep. It's the IV Tech, and it has a 14.5 gallon fuel tank.
You're gonna get like 350,
It
400
uses-
miles on the highway with that.
The MSRP, not MSRP. the estimated
MPG.
Fuel.
That's what you were going for.
MPG.
Yeah.
See, yeah, I'm going for that acronym. Yes, it's anywhere between 27 and 32. And when doing my research on it and reading up, this thing has been hitting 32 miles a gallon regularly for people.
Yeah.
So they're getting a lot of good. It also you're showing some of the accessories. You can get roof racks for it. They offer a few extras for it, but not over the top. So you can get cargo covers. Mine came with like the WeatherTech style factory mats. It's just very versatile for what I'm trying to do. And the most attractive part of this thing, man, the MSRP on this thing was $28,500.
Wow. Okay.
Now, their L and LE, I think is what they call it. It has leather seats, leather trim, different packages. They load it up, but they get up to around 36.
And again,
36,
it's like
000.
all I do is bait the haters on this show anymore. Why would you spend that kind of money to have that kind of trim on a Honda? This is not a BMW. Like leather seats on a Honda, I guess.
No.
Why wouldn't you buy an Acura then? Right?
Right. Exactly. And I mean, if you looked at some of the others in this segment, like, for example, the Tucson falls in this segment. The Rogue falls in this segment.
And I know people will go now. They're getting like what's the one I was just thinking of where Toyota does it a lot, where people will go trim out like top end trim out their Camrys but that's Toyota. Toyotas typically end up in that higher price point for the 4Runner crowd and the Tacomas, as we've already discussed.
I looked at all that. And it's just like, my God,
it's expensive. Yeah.
I mean, it's extremely expensive. And so for something that I'm purposely using to travel in a lot and go places, that is exactly why I purchased it. It's going to work for me. I'm going to be able to put a lot of miles on it, I hope. And now, we'll see what happens in 5 years.
The only question that I have, and this might be our next poll, okay? Which I guess we'll leave over in the community tab on YouTube is,
sure,
where do we put the Mud Flap Girl decal? Does it go on the back door? Does it go, on the side, on the roof? Do we do big, small? I mean, it has to be, I don't think you can say tasteful, but have you seen the Mud Flap guy, Jay?
I have.
I'm just, maybe that's our poll. Like, where is a good place for said... Maybe on the back window if you're worried about the nowadays they're removable vinyl. They really don't hurt the paint, but know, like back window, maybe a little mud flap guy kind of thing.
yeah, there you go.
All right.
Exactly. No, well, look, let me just say this. I was able to get a decent trade-in value for the Cooper. The Cooper needed a set of 4 tires, which is going to cost me around $1,600. It needed rear brakes, which was going to cost me another $1,000. It needed another oil change, which was going to cost me another $250. The rims on it had all been curbed, and so that decreases value. And if you looked at,
Jay, there's a company out there that notoriously uses our videos showcasing their product that has never shall remain nameless because they've never offered to let us help them sell. We've asked. But they like our video content enough that they will use it to promote their product, and they make these things that cover your rims up if they've been curbed that you can buy in various colors that are really cool and would solve that problem for you. And I don't know why I'm wasting my time right now talking about these guys, but
Me either, but I tell you what, if they feel like they want to come on and sponsor a podcast episode or several podcast episodes, we'd be glad to talk to you about that. We'll make more videos together, guys.
Okay. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah. So there you have it. I'm a happy.
I can't wait to go for a ride in it. Jay called me and he's like, "Hey, I got a new car," and like a day, I'm still trying to absorb the change. And it's like I'm trying to, and he's all like, "Hey, we're going to cross country," and Anyway, it's like it'll be great. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun, man. It's a good ride. I like it a lot. It only had 5 miles on it when I.
Here's the
sat in
thing,
it.
okay? Now that it's a brand new car, it's the current model year that's for sale. Mm-hmm. In the next 30 days, you and I have to shoot a review on this car.
We'll do that.
And
we'll do that
have you? And I'm honestly asking because Jay, we've done so much stuff. I don't even know who's done what. Have you ever done a car review, like an actual full car review? There you go. This will be your first one.
But I did just a small review on the Ford Bronco.
Oh, that counts. That counts. Yeah. So this isn't your first one.
Did that, and then remember the Mustang.
No, I don't remember
Mach-E
any of that. So that's why I'm saying like
you don't remember anything?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So, but anyway, I'm excited. I'll be excited to share.
It'll be
that
your
with
first
you guys.
Honda review.
Absolutely, it's the first time I've ever owned a Honda. That was another thing. And if you look at, there were a lot of factors. I looked at customer satisfaction, their track record on their warranties, their warranty itself that they offer. It's good stuff. So I got me a refrigerator with an ice maker, man.
There you go. I saw.
About that,
now this is the next thing you need to get after the mud flap guy. I was at a trade show over the weekend, talked to a shop owner, automotive repair shop, and he trail rides bikes, dirt bikes, right? And he rides Hondas. Mm-hmm. I ride Hondas. We instant bond, right? He's from the Midwest, so he got the tattoo, and it's the Honda wings, but it says
nice.
Honda on purpose. On purpose.
Well, hey, our good friend Rothmeyer, who owns I think it's like a 2013 Toyota
4Runner. Yeah.
4Runner. It's a
TRD.
TRD.
He's got the Turd Pro.
He's got the little U in there, turd.
Yeah.
Yeah. You saw that, right?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
There you go. So anyway, there you have it, guys. 2025 Honda HR-V Sport. I would highly recommend if you are interested in something that size that you consider that model. I'll have a review coming your way, so make sure you subscribe to this channel.
That's how you'll know.
And you'll be alerted.
And if you love us so much that you just can't wait to support the show and you can't wait until this review comes out, but you want to know what you can do today, well, we're at that part of the program where you're going to find out. So there's a couple things you can do. First of all, if you are a frequent Amazon shopper, go to our website, partscounterguru.com, click on the Amazon link. So you can support the show that way. It doesn't change the price of anything that you buy on Amazon. We don't know. It's anonymous. We don't know what you bought. We can't track it back to you or anything weird like that. But we get a little bit of an affiliate credit for that, and it helps support the show. The other thing you can do is any of the stuff that you're thinking about buying, go over to our show specials tab and just use the links there. We have all kinds of discount codes in there for you, so we try to help you guys out where we can in terms of getting you the best prices for the stuff. The Top Don thing that we've mentioned several times on this episode is in there. Jay mentioned his e-bike. We've got the links for those. We've got just anything. Jay, do you have a trailer hitch on this car? Do you have a receiver?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not, but they're available for it. And at this time, I just wanted to kind of, run out of there and do my research on what brand I want to use. So,
all right.
We have some partners out there that I
well, because I saw now they are starting to make e-bike specific bicycle carriers, because we've had the problem in the past where like I've used bike carriers, various ones, and those e-bikes have really fat tires, and you got to make sure it's compatible with e-bike, and I'm starting to see them out there. So but most of those you don't want to mount on the roof. They're too heavy. You want to put them low. Exactly.
And I thought about all that, and at some point I will certainly make those adjustments to bring the bike along. So I love my bike, man. I'm going to have to park it for a little while, but once I have the opportunity to get it, with me, I'll be riding the hell out of it again. So I've been riding the hell out of it.
Yeah.
These last 2-3 weeks. So
anyway, before we wrap, anything else to add?
No. Other than I would say certainly do your homework on when you're buying a car. Do your homework. The resources are out there, people. And don't be afraid to go to YouTube and watch people who have put their hands on these things. I'm telling you, it's very helpful. We are helpful to you guys, and that's what we're all about. I'm not going to say that some of those were a little hard to watch, but there's actually some really good folks out there doing a fine job of reviewing vehicles. So just go watch some YouTube, man, for a while, and just do your homework and make sure it's everything that you want. And put your your negotiating hat on. Trust me. Don't be afraid to put a figure down.
If none of that works out, Jay's email address is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can ask us a question
or leave a comment.
Or leave a comment. I'll be glad to answer that question for you.
All right.
But that's it.
Thank you guys for making us a part of your lives. Jay, you remember Joan Rivers?
I do remember Joan Rivers.
The late, great Joan Rivers kind of got shunned by Johnny Carson, kind of then continued to pave her own way. Very funny. Female in the industry in a male-dominated comedy. Just saw Jay Leno over the weekend, by the way, doing stand-up. So Joan Rivers said this. She said, "I wish I could tell you that it gets better, but it doesn't get better. You get better." For my pal Jay over there, I'm Keith. Thank you guys for making us a part of your lives. We'll see you on the next one.